Now I'm going to go to the entirely different spectrum. This was a client that we had out of California. And he owned a commercial property that he'd had for a lot of years. It was his primary form of income. And once he got to know us, he got comfortable enough with what the plan looked like working with us versus what he was getting right now. So he sold the property for $3.3 million, and this was end of last year. No, this was all this year, actually. This was first quarter this year. He sold it. He owed $500,000 on the house when he sold it, so he got approximately $2.8 million in cash, and we did that in a 1031. For those of you that are familiar with 1031s, you got time restraints, and the goal was to go buy 22 houses for this guy, which we had to identify within 45 days and then obviously close on within the time frame. And we did. So I just wanted to kind of show you the highlight of where he was at before. Before, he was making on average $10,000 to $11,000 a month that he was taking home from his commercial property. Okay, which was a good ROI for the amount of money he'd owned it for decades. So the amount of money that he'd put into it, it was a good return on that investment. But the amount of money that was sitting in the bricks, that $2.8 million, it wasn't so good. And he lived in California, the standard of living, all kinds of things that he was looking at because he was relocating to Utah down to St. George in the process of doing all this. So he was bringing in about $120,000 a year, which was about a 4.3% return if you look at it against the amount of cash that he had in that investment available to him. We bought the 22 houses, and after, the cash flow ends up being $18,000 a month, and 4 of those houses he bought for his kids. So there's no rental income coming from 4 of those houses. He's nice. Good dad. He wanted to bring his kids, make them close by too. So it's a family reunion in St. George is what's happening. So he's getting $18,000 a month, and we diversified him in every market that we have because we had to get him the product in the time frame that we had to get it. But represents $216,000 a year, 7.8% return. Unleveraged for the most part. We carried over a little bit of leverage, but for the most part, he was paying cash for those houses, which was an 81% increase in the performance of his portfolio. And then he also really liked the concept of being diversified, owning different houses in different markets, and one vacancy you can absorb really easily, or multiple vacancies, or small repairs instead of having all of his eggs in one basket. So this is an example of 3 people kind of as they came in. We went through that game plan process. We analyzed. I mean, with this guy, we spent months and months and months getting him comfortable with what we would be able to do and gaining his trust so we'd actually be able to perform on the 1031. Because if you don't perform on that 1031, that's a costly mistake from a tax standpoint for him. And it's interesting because the way it's set up now, he was real hands-on with this property, and he was stressed about having 20 properties in different states all over the country, and he sleeps a lot better at night today because everybody's doing everything for him and he's got the teams in place. Question?
Yeah, question on the 1031. What's the time frame? Do you have a year?
45 days to identify, 180 days to close.
180 days.
Yeah. Yep. Any other questions? Okay, hopefully this is useful just to kind of see it full circle and looking back what it looks like as they go through the process. One question in the back.
So we have tried to do 1031 exchange before, and you sent us to someone else who and it didn't end up being worth it. So are you doing those in-house now?
No, so we don't do 1031 exchange in-house at all. There's a third party that has fiduciary responsibility, exchange companies, and they charge fees. We usually use First American Exchange. They're a big national company, but there's hundreds of companies that facilitate 1031s, and they all have different fee structures. They're all pretty similar though. So where it wasn't worth it, and we can talk offline, I'd be curious to see if the actual exchange didn't work the way we wanted to, or afterwards it was discovered the tax situation, there wasn't a big benefit by doing it or whatever, but from a fee structure, they're all pretty similar, the companies. Mm-hmm. Good question. Another one?
So the second example was local.
Yes, those are all local.
Was it challenging to find those that would meet their needs because they were not high income owners?
So the question was if it was local, so in Utah, Salt Lake County area, which the answer is yes. And then was it challenging to find the inventory? Yes. That inventory at that price point goes fast right now, especially inventory with accessory apartments.
Do they manage themselves?
Yes. These guys do manage those themselves. Yeah. But yeah, $180,000 to $260,000 houses in Utah County right now, you know, days, and they're gone. So we just have to be really, really fast. Yep. Good questions. One of those we were able to find, the house wasn't actually on the market. So it's through some contacts that we have, and we were able to find it that way for him. So, good. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. I'm going to turn it back to Kevin, and we'll wrap things up.
Thank you, Todd.